Thank you, everyone. Welcome back to On the Subject. I'm your host, Michael Villardo. We're so excited to bring the best minds within education, entertainment, and more to On the Subject to focus on incredible high school and collegiate educational journeys, experiences, and how we can get better as a unit here. And so we're so excited to have Amy Scholz here today. So full disclosure, she is a board member at Subject. We're so thankful to have her. But most recently, she was the Chief Marketing Officer at Curriculum Associates and Imagine Learning. In addition, she's had over 25 years of experience in the education space. We're so indebted to learn from her and can't wait to have her on the podcast today. Thank you for joining us, Amy.
Thank you, Michael. I'm happy to be here.
So I love that we have one thing in common. Hopefully, you know where I'm going with this. We both are from the Midwest.
That's right.
We're Midwesterners.
That is right.
Midwest nice, hopefully. And so I wanted to start there. What was your education like in Kansas City, Missouri area? What was it like growing up there? What do you love about it? What education experiences did you have there that really shaped you today?
That's a great question. So I grew up in Kansas City on the Kansas side. It's a
Yes.
big deal when you're
Yes.
from Kansas City, whether you're on the Missouri or the Kansas side. Both are great. I was in Catholic schools most of my learning trajectory, but I just always loved learning new things. And it was a great community environment. Always felt supported by my family, by the teachers, and looking forward to what college was going to bring and what was next.
So how did you go about that decision process? So many of our listeners today and in future years, there'll be students navigating that challenge. How do I choose where to go to college? What was that like for you? How did you decide on your options? And what do you really reflect back on that experience and that you're happy with and also you wish you could have done differently?
Yeah, it was a different time back then before the internet was really prevalent to where there wasn't this college tour of traveling the country and choosing colleges at the time. I was very fortunate though in living in Kansas to where they have KU, K-State, Emporia State. That's just where you go. And I knew I wanted to be a teacher early on. And Emporia State had the best at the time. I don't know how it is today. I'm sure it's fantastic. But the teachers college, the teachers program was amazing. And so I was able to get into both KU and Emporia State to learn about how to educate future generations. And
Yeah.
so that's what I did for both undergraduate and graduate.
That's amazing. And thank you for sharing that experience. And so let's take a step forward. You today live in New Jersey, greater New York City area.
Yep.
What do you think of the cultural differences of living in the East Coast where you have two children today versus being raised in the Midwest and how that impacts how you view education? What's that like?
That's a fantastic question. I think the community environment is really everything. What happens inside of a classroom shouldn't look different regardless where you are in the country, regardless of your zip code.
Yes, I agree. We're so
so-
passionate about that. So one thing that we always say at Subject, so our vision and mission all center around student-centered learning experiences where no matter what zip code you're born into, that means what city or how wealthy your parents may be, you can receive an incredible learning experience. That's our duty to society. That's our duty here at Subject to help learners. And I love that you've already brought that parallel to your experience being in Kansas, New Jersey, spending time in Hoboken, all very different experiences. And we're trying to have some synonymity across the educational journey. How can we do a better job of that in the high school classroom, which you taught for several years, correct?
Yes, I taught in first grade. And so it was really K through 5 is where I taught. But when I think about the classroom, regardless if it is elementary, middle school, or high school, but specifically in high school too, the teacher is always the center of learning. And what I think about what we can do as an education industry is just to really uplift that teacher to make sure that they have what they need to be most impactful, to be most successful in supporting their students. And so what we do at Subject and then really across the industry is really trying to make sure we have the best possible experience for students to keep them engaged, to keep them motivated, willing to learn, and save time for the teachers, make their lives easier, the data that they need to help support the growth, knowing that their students are being engaged and that they're learning and progressing in their academic careers. I think that's what we all should strive to do better, to make sure that we're giving all the maximum support to both teachers and students.
Yeah, teachers of the Hero Society, they are the ones who are putting their day-to-day on the line to be able to help young people. And
Yeah.
young people are the future leaders. We want to empower young people above all else. I always love bringing the parallel, especially since many adults are not in school anymore. They're not going to university courses. They're just adulting. but a lot of people will go to a workout class or sit on the Peloton. What a difference it makes what instructor you have. Are
Mhm.
they engaged with you? Do they know your name? Do they have
Yes.
time for one-on-one instruction? And this has come to light, especially over the last few weeks, how important that one-on-one time with the student is. One-on-one instruction, intimate relationship building, and being able to empower them. How do you think EdTech allows for teachers to get more one-on-one time with their students?
It's a great question. I mean, teachers can't do it alone, so it really it takes a village. And I think what we can do to best help support them in their environment, the districts need to support them, families need to support them, the community needs to support them. But on the provider side, and what we can do is just simply to help enable them, empower them to do what they do best, to make those connections, to feel at ease in knowing that the connections are going to lead to trust. Trust is going to lead to a foundational leverage to then be able to learn and accept the information and retain and comprehend. And so everything that we're building should really be designed all in support of that to best support the teacher.
Completely agree. And so I love the teacher focus. We're going to take a pivot to now student centered focus. What can we do with students? Where we sit today, it's 2024. Hopefully, we have listeners 5, 6 years from now looking back at this podcast and we could be able to forecast the future together, which we're really excited and proud of. We are 27 years after Netflix's birth. Netflix turns 27 years old in August. Gen Z started in 1997 as well. So they're turning 27 years old this year. This isn't a parenting podcast, but Amy, you have 2 kids. What do your kids engage with at home in terms of their phones, TVs? When we grew up, a lot of this opportunity wasn't available. What are your kids like? What do you think is different about the student of today than when we went to school?
Yeah, it is very different. But I think that the nature of the students though are the same in that they want to be engaged and stimulated through whatever means are available to them. And right now and today in 24, that is through video. That is through YouTube.
Yes,
That is
yes.
through although the engagements though need to be authentic.
I completely agree.
YouTube in itself is a fantastic engine, but it has what they're learning from it has to be authentic. And there's a lot of things out there that aren't. And so I think it's really important for what we do on the education side to create content that is authentic for them to keep their engagement, keep their rigor in a
Yes,
sense
rigorous.
to where they're I don't want to say almost tricked into learning, but that they're having fun while doing
Mhm.
so. And it's meeting them where they are, but also leveling the game field and up leveling it to where they are learning, they are comprehending, they are able to apply what they see, what they hear, what they learn to their everyday lives and into their academic development.
Yeah, so I saw something pretty wild last night that YouTube TV is now the third largest provider in the United States after Comcast and DirecTV. I think that really brings to light where this generation is going and where they want to be able to engage. YouTube and TikTok are their new search engines. They don't go to Google, they go to YouTube and TikTok because they want a video centric approach. Content is king right now. How can we do a better job of building out premium content? Where do you see the industry going and engaging students via premium content?
I think that cinematic nature of premium content is really what students are resonating with the most because that's what they're used to. And so when you put something in front of them in a digital format or even in a printed format that doesn't represent just their everyday lives, but we always say relevance in education is so important. And when you look at video, what are they looking at? What is meaningful? But you also have to follow the research.
Agreed.
Again, you have to keep the rigor established and standards based approach too to make sure that whatever we're putting in front of them is academically sound. So that way they are meeting all of their academic requirements through video.
We are so thankful for your time. The one thing I definitely want to make sure we leave the podcast, why subject? You have so many opportunities ahead of you. You've built such an incredible career. Why did you decide to step onto the board of subject and help with the governance and pushing the product forward? What did you see in the company that made you excited about subject?
So many things. The not just the energy and the excitement about coming into the education space and thinking differently about how to engage students and coming in with the mindset of really and truly focusing on that student experience first and then building in everything that the teacher needs to support that student, whether they're in front of them in the classroom, whether it's in a blended environment, in a virtual only environment, or if the students are learning on their own. It should stand on its own to be able to really support the growth of that student. And I saw in subject something different and new and innovative that just hasn't been in this space and wanted to be able to help.
No, we're so thankful to have you. And then the one last pressing question I definitely want to push on you. And again, we're so excited to work with you at Subject. So excited to have you on the subject today on the podcast. Where do you see education 100 years from now? So we're looking at
Oh,
21,
boy.
24.
Yeah.
We're forecasting a crazy future here. What would you love for education to look like, not just in the US, but globally? Again, our mission here is to have impact on students regardless of zip code. What can education do 100 years from now? We look back right now, 1924, the world was quite different. What can we do to be better in 21, 24?
Really hard to predict 100 years from now, and it's a great question. I coming from a being a teacher, I would want to see, I hope that in 100 years from now, the teaching profession is truly uplifted and is paid what it
Yes.
should and
Yes.
supported the way it should, to where they really are given everything they possibly need to be able to service what's in front of them. And what's in front of them are wide-eyed learners who are really need their support. And so I think every day a little better, every day we're trying to do
Yes. Better
more.
every day.
But I hope in 100 years from now, it's not even a question as to what the teacher means to society and to the learning environment.
You heard it here first. I love that all the way, Amy. We have a huge vision. We want teachers to be top of the line paid professionals because that's what they're doing. They're impacting hundreds of thousands, if not millions of students over the course of their career. And the butterfly effect there, when you help a student as a teacher and they become a better citizen, husband, wife, father, mother, that butterfly effect is so infectious. So we're so indebted to all the educators like yourself and can't wait to build an incredible product together. And thank you all for engaging with another on the subject. We look forward to having another episode soon. And this was quite special having Amy Scholz on here today. Thank you so much for your time today, Amy.
Thank you, Michael.